It is Friday, August 11th, and this is a Fox News alert. Fire and fury. President Trump doubling down on his warning to North Korea as Kim Jong-un says he's ready to strike. And China's new warning for the U.S., don't shoot first.
And Susan Rice, president, rate a nuclear North Korea. Really? Didn't her former boss help create this problem?
Please tell my family I love them.
And a police officer shot at point-blank range, his miraculous story of survival, and the words he thought would be his last. A remarkable story there, part of a lot of remarkable stories. Fox and Friends First starts right now. Though President Trump doubling down on his fire and fury comments.
He says it wasn't tough enough, and China issues a warning to the U.S. overnight. Don't strike first.
Griff Jenkins live for us in Washington with the very latest. Griff.
Todd, Jillian, good morning. As that North Korean threat of 4 intermediate missiles being launched into the waters near Guam looming large, the president's not backing down. He not only reiterated his warning yesterday to Pyongyang that he would unleash fire and fury, he now says maybe that didn't go far enough.
They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
And when it comes to the question of whether the president is considering a preemptive strike, he was tight-lipped.
I'm not like the other administration that would say we're going into Mosul in 4 months. I don't talk about it. We'll see what happens. But I can tell you that what they've been doing and what they've been getting away with is a tragedy, and it can't be allowed.
A key part now of any de-escalating of tensions will rely on the role China plays in diffusing the situation. But according to reports, a Chinese state-run newspaper says in an editorial that if North Korea attacks first, China should stay neutral. And if the U.S. and South Korea strike first and try to overthrow the North Korean regime, then China will step in to prevent them from doing so. This is the U.S. and South Korea are set to carry out previously scheduled large-scale military exercises later this month. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Joe Dunford, departed yesterday on a scheduled trip to Japan, South Korea, and China. You can guess what will be at the top of those discussions. Guys?
You betcha, Griff. Absolutely. Griff, thank you very much. And so the era of appeasement is over. That's at least the headline. And when you think of that word appeasement, history has shown appeasement usually has horrific historical consequences. Obviously, we saw what happened in Germany and England in World War II. Now the question becomes, will our showing of American might actually work with regard to North Korea? Because, as you've heard many pundits say, North Korea is a different, quote-unquote, enemy than we faced in a long time.
And I don't know if you feel this way, but this is how I feel. Part of the issue is you just don't know right now how North Korea is going to react. You don't know how they're going to react in general. You don't know how they're going to react to what President Trump has to say. And in fact, yesterday, he actually spoke to reporters twice. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We are preparing for many different alternative events at North Korea. If he has disrespected our country greatly, we'll always consider negotiations, but they've been negotiating now for 25 years. Look at Clinton. He folded on the negotiations. He was weak and ineffective. You look what happened with Bush. You look what happened with Obama. Obama, he didn't even want to talk about it. But I talk. It's about time. Somebody has to do it.
And so if you're wondering whether or not the policies of the past are over, President Trump just articulated yes, and General Jack Keane on our air echoed the same sentiments.
The president is totally fed up now that he has all the facts in terms of what the last 25 years have been like with the Kim dynasty. He knows full well that his predecessors, through policies of negotiations, diplomacy, appeasement, and accommodation, have brought the Kim dynasty to the point now where they're nuclearizing ICBMs that threaten the American people. And that certainly has frustrated him, and he's fed up with it. And he's clearly sending a signal to this leader that I intend to deter you because I have, one, have the capability to destroy you, and I have, two, the intent to do it. I am not going to permit you to do harm to the American people.
One of the things I liked hearing yesterday was when President Trump said, "I'd like to denuke the world." To me, that's a sense of, okay, he has this under control. I can trust that I don't have to be scared at every moment of the day.
Right, that this isn't some erratic leader who wants to see nuclear war. This is an individual who, like you said, wants to get rid of nukes, but we are not in a situation where we can do that. At least that's what you and I think. Susan Rice has a different take on all this. Yeah, that we might need to tolerate nuclear war. Let's put up her quote from the New York Times op-ed. She writes, "But war is not necessary to achieve prevention, despite what some in the Trump administration seem to have concluded. History shows that we can, if we must, tolerate nuclear weapons in North Korea the same way we tolerated the far greater threat of thousands of Soviet nuclear weapons during the Cold War." And my only response to that is, nowhere did the president or our administration say we are going to war. We have basically said this is going to be our approach. We're going to be strong in the face of this bully. And her reference to war, we are not even close to there yet.
And also to keep in mind, General Anthony Tata reminds us who Susan Rice is. Take a listen to this.
I think she has no idea what she's talking about. She was utterly incompetent as the NSA. She led us down a path with Iran that modeled a nuclear deal after what President Bill Clinton did with Korea in 1994 that resulted in what we've got today. And I think Susan Rice has all the credibility has no credibility. And so for her to say that, strategic patience, they ignored it for 8 years. And then on the way out, President Obama said to President incoming, then elect Trump, here's something that you're going to have to deal with. And finally, the president's dealing with it as he should, and he's not going to kick this can down the road.
Expectedly, you'll hear a lot of experts talk on this in the coming days. We have a real expert on the region. She was both born there and is now an expert on Korean-U.S. relations. She's coming up in our next block.
Excellent. All right, let's get on to some other news of the day right now. Beginning with this, the Pentagon now revealing that U.S. troops have recently come under direct fire in northern Syria. A military spokesman says it's not clear who was doing the shooting, but no one was hurt.
There have been clear direct fire engagements that have not resulted in injury. We are prepared to defend ourselves if required.
U.S. forces did not return fire. Since March, U.S. Special Operations Forces have been in northern Syria to help keep the peace after ISIS was pushed out. A Canadian diplomat in Cuba now being treated for the same hearing loss symptoms as a group of American officials. Earlier this week, a U.S. investigation revealed our diplomats were attacked with an advanced sonic weapon that operated inside or outside their homes in Havana. In retaliation, the U.S. expelled 2 Cuban officials from their Washington embassy. Cuba denies any involvement.
Such a bizarre story there. Today, Russia will fly another spy plane over the U.S. days after buzzing over D.C. and President Trump's New Jersey golf course. U.S. officials say Russia is using the flights for propaganda purposes and to spy on things like our nuclear plans. But the legal mission is all part of the Treaty of Open Skies that allows unarmed surveillance flights over the territories of its 34 participating nations. A plane packed with passengers forced to make an emergency landing after the crew got sick. The JetBlue flight heading from Boston to San Diego landed in Buffalo, New York instead. A woman on board posting this picture reportedly showing a crew member on a stretcher. The airline has not said what caused 2 flight attendants and the pilot to get sick. A new plane eventually landed in San Diego safely.
A high school football player is killed when a practice drill goes horribly wrong. Police say a heavy log fell on 16-year-old Josh Miletto's head as his teammates carried it across the field on Long Island, New York. They tried to revive Josh on the field. He died at the hospital a short time later. Miletto would have started his junior year of high school in just a few weeks. What a tragic story.
Horrible, horrible situation. The opioid crisis now officially a national emergency. President Trump taking a hardline stance as drug overdoses rise at horrifying rates.
Marianne Rafferty brings us the details on the White House plan from Los Angeles.
Good morning. President Trump waging a war on opioids as more than 100 Americans die every day from the deadly drugs.
The opioid crisis is an emergency, and I'm saying officially right now it is an emergency. It's a national emergency. We're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money on the opioid crisis.
The president speaking at his golf resort in Bedminster, New Jersey, saying his administration is drafting the paperwork. The declaration is expected to waive health regulations, expand access to treatment, and make overdose antidotes more widely available. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who leads the White House Opioid Commission, is praising the president, saying, quote, "I am completely confident that the president will address this problem aggressively and do all he can to alleviate the suffering and loss of scores of families in every corner of our country." The White House also creating a pilot program in 12 districts across the nation to focus on preventing opioid-related healthcare fraud and pill mill schemes. Back to you.
Obviously, something has to be done. A time now 9 minutes after the hour. North Korea showing what they can do from the sky, but could they soon be capable of a sneak attack by sea? Our next guest is a former CIA analyst and just met with North Korean officials. She says yes.
Dispatch, please tell my family I love them.
And a police officer shot at point-blank range. His miraculous story of survival and the words he thought would be his last.
Plus, sorry, Hillary, the investigation into Benghazi isn't over just yet. More Fox and Friends first when we come back.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends First. We have brand new shocking video showing the moment a cop is shot at point blank range. The message to his family and what he thought was his last breath will give you chills. We do want to warn you, some of you might find this video disturbing.
Take your hands out your pocket! Take your hands out your pocket! Shots fired! Dispatch, Echo 7, I'm hit. I'm hit in my neck someplace. Dispatch, please tell my family I love them.
I have chills right now. South Carolina officer Quincy Smith coming under attack, responding to a call about a suspicious person. He was hit 3 times and was seriously hurt, but managed to survive a life-threatening neck injury. The terrifying video captured on a camera Officer Smith brought himself and placed on his glasses. His shooter just sentenced to 35 years for attempted murder. A bombshell new FBI report revealing ISIS is using eBay to fund fighters on American soil. According to the Wall Street Journal, the global financial network stretched from Britain to Bangladesh. The bogus deals first linked to a suspected terrorist arrested in Maryland last year. The Fed say he pretended to sell computer printers on eBay to get ISIS payments through PayPal. Todd?
Jillian, thanks. President Trump now doubling down on his warning to bring fire and fury to North Korea after the rogue regime outlines very specific plans for a nuclear strike on Guam. This as fire and fury to North